Hello to my earth signs, Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Welcome to the Aries full moon. You'll find the timestamps for your rising signs listed below. Hello Capricorn Rising. Welcome to your reading for the Aries full moon happening very soon, this Thursday the 17th of October at 10:27 p.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. This is a moon that we can trust, Capricorn Rising. After a very long time of instability and of deluge and of release and of friction, we get to look out into the sky, eyeball the moon, and trust it. We get to say thank you for guiding us, and we get to relax our jaw, our neck, our shoulders, our back, and release. On your birth chart, we're looking at the fourth house. So this can represent our home, our roots, perhaps where we came from. Definitely the home that we're creating for ourselves. And this moon is in company with this little key shape here. This is Chiron. Chiron can represent our vulnerability. It can represent pain points or moments of tension. It can represent parts of us that are suffering and that we need assistance with. And so looking at this chart here, Capricorn Rising, you can see that there's some sharpness going on, but we can contend with this. The sun is up here in Libra, your 10th house, your most visible self, your career if you have one, your public perception. And the sun is in close company with Juno. And Juno is an asteroid, and they can represent our commitment. And they're in exactly the same place, the sun and Juno. So there's a warming up of our commitments in the public sphere, which is nice. And they're beaming their light down to this moon in our privacy, our place of seclusion in the fourth house. Now this looks beautiful. There is the pressure coming from Mars in the 7th house of our relationships and Pluto in your 1st house. Now this is where I want to focus in on, because the time is numbered. Days are limited. There's only a few more weeks of Pluto in Capricorn in our lifetime. We'll never experience Pluto in Capricorn again. And everything that we've learned about transformation is being spoken to at this full moon. And I want to take it in a way that has us feeling bold and mighty and ready for it. Pluto will unearth, Pluto will reveal, Pluto will decimate, but in order to create space for new growth. And you've been playing this song, this tune, for a long time. You've become an expert. And the next 3 weeks will teach you just how expertly you've handled upheaval in your life. Now, traditionally, this is a square, so this is pressure. And Mars in our 7th house could mean a couple of different things. Definitely tension, anger, choice words, and that's okay. Sometimes healthy to let a few of them out, particularly if on the topic of home life and where we came from. You can say what you need to in those sacred relationships, usually. Air your grievances, let them out, provide room to heal. And this is Chiron's specialty. So I've got a key here. In honor of the shape of the glyph, I want you to imagine that you have this key in your pocket at this full moon. And I want you to meditate on family, home, where you came from, where you're going. I want you to hold this key in your hand, and when you feel ready to, I want you to turn it. And I want you to unlock some of those gentle parts, those vulnerable parts of you that you've kept at bay, that you've needed to pocket in order to deal with the heftier transformations. And I want you to take this moon as your invitation to tend to some of that pain. It's safe to do so. There may be waves of emotion. There may be big stuff unearthed, revealed, said, whatever. It's okay. We're in a safe space here, Capricorn Rising. And Chiron, healing, is their specialty. Now, Chiron himself, the centaur of the ancient times, couldn't heal his own suffering. He couldn't heal his own wounds, try as he might. And so by learning that about Chiron, we learn that about ourselves, that there is some wounding that is vulnerable and needs assistance. So I want you to take that advice when thinking about transformation, thinking about what you've been going through as a person. Think about all the different roles that you've played. Think about all of the different responsibilities that you've had. Think about everything that you've needed to say goodbye to. Think about everything that's been revealed to you about your selfhood. Think about the clarity that you have now. Think about the person that you are becoming. And think about the person that you were. Think about that vulnerable one, the child self. Think about all the different times where they locked it up, where they kept it small, where they shut it away. And give yourself this moment at this very, very pertinent time in our history to be sweet to yourself and to provide some healing for that version of you. This key is yours at the full moon, Capricorn Rising. Turn it when you're ready. Because it's not all antagonistic. There's actually some beautiful stuff happening as well with Neptune and Venus and Mars. Those blue lines of support are lighting up the water signs of your chart. Deep emotion, deep feeling, deep bonding, deep honesty. The astrology of this moment does look really helter-skelter, really hectic. But if we trace these lines of the trine and then trace them to Pluto, we have a bow and arrow. We have a pinpoint direction back to Pluto, back to the next 3 weeks, back to the last 15 years. You're the master of transformation now, Capricorn Rising. You know how to birth yourself. Time and time and time again. Don't discount that brilliance. And when it comes to these gentle wounds that the moon is encouraging you to look at and to tend to, remember that this part of you is still ever present. And this major lesson, this major cycle of humanity is coming to a close. And when we think about addiction to work, when we think about striving for the top, when we think about hanging our hat or hanging our personality on our output as being the only thing valuable about us, we know that we've learnt that lesson in our lifetime. We know that that's not true. That doesn't stop you from achieving at all. It doesn't stop your ambition, but it does reframe it into a much healthier context. And it does help heal some of this past wounding too. Let's get some tarot. All ones, all fire. Your magic is sacred, Capricorn Rising. And I know that feeling of terror when it seems as though you don't have anything left in you. When you think that you've done all that you can and that your moment is up, that you're exhausted, that you're burnt out, that you're done with it. I know that terror, especially when there's been so much emphasis on your output, on your materialization, making something out of nothing. No one else will do it. So you take the brunt of that responsibility and you churn out and you produce and you show up. But after a time, it just feels like nothing to you. And that can be super scary because the work, the magic, is what lights you up. And so without it, who are you? But that's what Pluto has taught you. And that's what these final 3 weeks of Pluto and Capricorn are teaching you. That you are so much more than your strong back. And when it feels like the end, that the inspiration is gone, it comes right back. Because you've been given yourself permission to be a human being. And you've separated your identity from your artistry, from your creativity, from your hard work. And with a time to rest and a time to reframe, and with a little bit of encouragement and inspiration from folks around you, from reconnecting with relationships from before, from remembering what you're doing it for in the first place, the tank fills up. And there's no stopping you. But it's coming from a different place now. It's coming from a place of joy rather than obligation. And that feels epic. There's your key for this full moon, Capricorn Rising. Do it. Congratulate yourself. Take this full moon. Honor your ancestors. Honor your past. Honor your past self. And let them tell you how proud of you they are. That they can't believe the life that you've had. That they can't believe what you've achieved. And they also can't believe how loving you are, how kind, how gentle, how caring. Because you love them and you care for them and you have the ability to heal them. That's your reading, Capricorn Rising. Enjoy the moon. Take it for all it's worth. Feel the relief from the dragon. And if you're still here with me, put a key in the comments. I would love that. Let me know how you've experienced the eclipses and let me know what you're looking forward to coming up. If you would like me to draw your birth chart, something like this, you can make your appointment at my website, umaruby.com. Pick a spirit reading if I've not met you before. If you would like a face-to-face tarot reading, you can do that via the Muses of Mystery website. That link is also in my description. And if you would like to support my work, you can head over to buymeacoffee.com/umaruby and put some money in the tip jar. Thank you so much for being here with me, Capricorn Rising. Thank you so much for your support and encouragement of my work too. It means the absolute most to me. Thank you. I'll be with you for the Scorpio new moon. See you soon. Hello, Taurus Rising. Welcome to your reading for the Aries full moon happening very soon, this Thursday, the 17th of October at 10:27 p.m. if you're in the Southern Hemisphere with me. I hope that you're feeling cleansed after eclipse season. I hope that you feel relieved that we're moving through it and we did get through it and we've got nothing but the future to look forward to. Sometimes when the astrology is so literal, it doesn't really always help to have someone attempt to explain your pain away. It's coming from good faith on the most part. I really believe that. I try to keep my work coming from good faith at all times. But I know it can just give you the shits when there's an astrological explanation for the difficulty of the current moment. So hopefully we can use these readings as reflections on what we've been going through, and we can use them as just simple moments to have our pain points witnessed. We're going to be speaking a lot about our unconscious wounding in this reading, Taurus Rising, specifically for you on your birth chart. We're going to journey deep into the 12th house, which you can see here. There's Aries, and there's the 12th house. This is your private chamber. The 12th house was the house that was rising before you were born. It's what was going on as you were still in utero, as you were still wrapping it up, maybe, from the time before. And so when we do our work in the 12th house, we know that there's no guidebook. It's really deep and and really private. So they're your key words for this full moon. I want you to remember that it's a moon that we can trust. It's free of the dragon. You can see the dragon's too far away. It's 6 degrees of Aries, too far away to eclipse. The sun is over here in Libra, spotlighting the moon and this key right here. This is the asteroid Chiron, and I've been doing some deep work with Chiron myself. I held a workshop very recently about what Chiron could represent in our birth charts. And Chiron, as it stands on the chart of this current moment, is speaking directly to that unconscious world of yours. The asteroid has a weird sort of journey around the sun. It sort of flings out far beyond the asteroid belt and then back again. And so in that weird motion, it actually spends something close to 10 years in Aries. Chiron first arrived in Aries in 2018 and then was in there full time from 2019 and will exist in Aries until 2027. So we've been doing some real deep excavation. You might not have always felt it so obviously, but at this moment, or moments like this, when the sun and the moon are spotlighting the significations of Chiron, it's when we talk about it. If you remember the Aries eclipse of earlier this year, in April the 9th, Chiron and the sun and the moon were all exactly conjunct in Aries, and they were very close to the dragon, so they were all eclipsed. So consider this full moon the aftermath. We've got one more eclipse in Aries next year to contend with, and as I said, Chiron until 2027. But at this full moon, I'd like you to journey deep as you're possibly able to, Taurus Rising. I'd like you to consider that key glyph, that key shape, as an opportunity to unlock something buried, something hidden for the longest time. I want you to set your space and make it safe. I want you to feel that you are welcome at this time, Taurus Rising. And I'd like you to visualize this key. And in your dreams, gently turn the lock and see what you discover. Your vulnerability is so welcome here, Taurus Rising. It always has been. Not always in the outside world, we understand that. But in 12th house work, it's really welcome. Now, it's not all smooth sailing. I'll show you the chart again to explain what I'm talking about. But you can see the sun and the moon and Chiron, let's face it, are forming a fairly tight square with Mars here in Cancer, and then also Pluto up here in Capricorn. So your 9th house of the gods and your 3rd house of the goddess are both being activated in a brittle way at this full moon. And what this kind of looks like to me is perhaps contention or a question of faith. Both of these houses speak to faith. They speak to what we believe in, what was shared to us in the village privately, what we've learned through our private rituals at home. And up here, what we've put our mind to as far as our study is concerned. Pluto in the 9th house does feel like a real excavation of faith. And so hopefully that will help you do this work. Hopefully this won't be too confrontational. And another thing to remember is that while this brittle, brute force is going on, this bombastic urgency to unearth, we also have a very cooling, very gentle trine of water with Mars. So Mars is being agitated, but is also in an attempt to heal, being supported by Venus in your 7th house of your relationships, and Neptune over here in your 11th house of your friends, your communities, your sense of humanity. And in their very strange way, they're creating a bow and arrow right back up to Pluto. So as much as the 12th house and our Chiron work is really important in this journey, I think that Pluto is pulling focus here too. And it's doing it both ways. Questions around faith, loss of hope is quite common right now. I've had many deep chats with people that are looking to hold on to something through a great deal of tension. But if we can look to our relationships and if we can look to people that we love at this time, Taurus rising, and really be selective. Venus in Scorpio doesn't give anything away for free. Venus in Scorpio wants to get to the root of it too. So you can see Venus operating in absolute sincerity, cooling some of this anger perhaps that's brewing from the bottom. And then with Neptune, allowing that portal to open into the 12th house. Maybe you could think about it as far as what you hope to see humanity evolve into. It's through love, isn't it? We want to come to a place where love is the guiding force for our species. And this unearthing of pre-existing power structures, perhaps to do with your faith, or with faith-based systems that you can see around you, revealing the truth of the matter. Perhaps this might be a moment where we can journey in our imagination to a place where church and state are separated, and where church is not used as a form to subjugate. That would be really beautiful, because the 9th house has so much to give us. It provides us with our faith, with our hope. Let's get some tarot on the table, Taurus rising. I hope you like this format. I'm not currently in the mood to put on a face, shall we say. I kind of liked the way that the recorded readings worked. When the video didn't work for the Libra eclipses, I did send out to my mailing list a copy of the audio, because I didn't want to throw it all in the bin. And yeah, there's a lot to be said for refocusing perhaps away from some of the glamour elements of it. I know I'm a glamour witch. I know you love to look at my beautiful face, but sometimes it's nice just to listen and zone in on the cards as well. Marie Laveau has a whole bunch of keys right there. And if they don't work, these will. Marie Laveau was so concerned with unlocking, with releasing, with setting people free. She devoted her whole life to it. And I think that there's something here that you can identify with in this card, Taurus rising, because this is the Hierophant. Different to this one. Same, but very different feeling. you think about the Hierophant card, perhaps you'll see this version in your mind's eye moving forward. You'll see someone that through absolute stress, anxiety, brittle, caustic history, kept her faith firmly planted in her heart, in her hands, in her head, in her spirit. She worked with the spirits in order to make a clearing for so many people. And so this is the kind of faith-based system that I'm interested in. And hopefully this is the kind of faith-based system that we can get back to as well. Because you've got to understand, this planet is so good at that kind of faith. If there's melancholy in your heart right now, Taurus Rising, we can just let that flow. It's really nice to be sincere with the way that you feel. It's really nice to be tender to yourself. It's really nice to treat yourself with the same love and gentle hand as you would the people that you care about. It's hard to do sometimes. Chiron teaches that too. Chiron says that it's much easier to work on or attempt to salve the wounds of other people. But this feels like right at this time, right at this moment, right at this moon, it's your turn. It's your turn to be the healer for yourself. Because you're very smart, you're very wise, you're very capable. And the wisdom that you hold is going to be so useful for generations to come. What you know about building, what you know about maintaining, what you know about growth, it's just going to get bigger in size as the years go by. Healthy body, healthy spirit, healthy mind. Check in with your physicality, check in how you feel in your skin, your bloodstream, the palms of your hands, the soles of your feet. How does that all feel right now? Are you healthy? Are you eating enough? If you're not, that's okay, because you can. And then maybe with a satisfied physical self, the spirit will start to come. That 12th house will become wide and vast and open to you. Perhaps there might be some things that you find in that 12th house that can aid some of your physical happiness too, your physical healing. I know sometimes when I've got a storm inside, it shows up on the outside. And sometimes when I think about my skill set, when I think about what I'm good at, or what I'm not good at, memories come back of how I would have loved to have someone show me the things that I don't know. And I question sometimes, why am I so critical about the things that I don't know? Why am I so hard on myself? Why do I think I'm inept in certain capacities? Everyone would have loved to have someone to look up to. The good news is that in time and with growing wisdom, people will be looking up to you soon enough. In fact, maybe they already do right now. I trust you, Taurus Rising. I trust that you're doing the best that you can at this time. And I trust that the healing pathway is continual. And we progress when we allow ourselves to be unsure or to be vulnerable, to be sad, to be scared. And it's how we treat ourselves in those moments of suffering that informs our psyche that we are worthy of care, we are worthy of love, we are worthy of compassion. Go gently, babe. Take this key with you into your dreams the night of the full moon. Turn the latch. Let it out. Much love. If you're still here, Taurus Rising, can you please put a key in the comments? That would be so gorgeous. I'd really love that. If you would like me to draw you a birth chart similar to this one and read it to you, you can make an appointment at my website, umaruby.com. Pick the spirit reading if I've not met you before. If you would like to have a tarot reading face-to-face, you can make your appointment at the Muses of Mystery website, Book In with Uma. And if you'd like to support my work, you can put some money in the tip jar over at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. Rest and dream, Taurus Rising, rest and dream. I'll be with you with enough time for the Scorpio new moon. So until then, take care. Hello Virgo Rising, welcome to your reading for the Aries full moon happening very soon, this Thursday the 17th of October at 10:27 p.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. We are free from eclipse season, Virgo Rising. I hope that you can feel something that feels like a reprieve or a release or some room to breathe. For the past month, those eclipses have really been dragging our energy and forcing us to look at things that we'd much prefer not to, and letting go of things that we hope that we didn't have to. It's going down on record for me personally as one of the most profound eclipse seasons on record. And if it's any help, I'd like for you to envisage this full moon as a clearing. The moon is too far away from the dragon to be eaten up. Finally, we have a moon that we can trust, that we can sit underneath, and that we can talk to, speak to, cry to. Down here in Libra, we have the sun. And the sun is in exactly the same position of the zodiac as this flower, this asteroid, Juno. Juno can represent our commitment in this life, the sacred oaths that we make with those very dear to us. And so right now, our commitment is being harmonized, galvanized, enlightened by the sun. And so in opposition to that, we have the moon. The spotlight from our commitment is being shone to the moon over in Aries in your 8th house, which speaks about your cosmic bonds. It speaks about the precipice, the final frontier. We invest in the 8th house and the energy of other people, and we also commit to them as well, which is why I wanted to bring up Juno over here. There's a big, strong emphasis on this chart in regard to what we're committing to. What oaths have we made? What bonds have we galvanized in our lifetime? And so when there's a full moon in this place, I want your emotional intentions to be set there. Cast away everything else at this current moment and think about your life. Think about your oath. Think about your ability to show up during very difficult times. Think about how you provide space for other people to grieve. Think about the ways in which you've been pulled to this area time and time again since April of 2023, when the first eclipse occurred in this space. Think about all of the concentration that you've been devoting to the processes of other people in your life, what you've invested. And also give yourself room to go deeper with that. Because this key shape here is Chiron. And we know that in the astrology, Chiron can speak to our unconscious wounding. It can speak to parts of us, parts of our vulnerability that we keep protected and safe. We keep locked up because they're too overwhelming sometimes to look at. Now, Chiron, the asteroid, has been moving around very slowly through Aries since 2018. And we won't always feel the presence of Chiron. However, when we do, particularly with the lunations, particularly with such close quarters, we feel that transit. And because this story of eclipses has been occurring between your autonomy and your devotion, I wonder what pain points we can excavate here. I wonder if you look at that shape, that key, and imagine it as a physical key. Imagine it as something that you keep in your pocket and that you now have room and space away from the eclipses enough to breathe and to open up. I wonder if there's conversations that you can have with people that are your beloveds about the intensity of your emotions right now. I wonder if the unconscious can become conscious at this full moon. Imagine that this key is in your pocket, Virgo Rising, and you can use it as and when you need it. And I'll leave that up to you as to pick your time, because as much as this feels so restorative and relieving, we are dealing with a very precise square. Mars in Cancer is retaliating to this moment of sincerity. Now, Mars is in your 11th house, which is your friendships, your community, your sense of the humanitarian spirit, the human condition. And so we know that our sense of the human condition right now involves a lot of war and a lot of hate and violence and foul language. And so I'd like for you to resist as much as you can for that infiltrating this profound moment of release, because your 8th house includes those that you let in. Down here, Pluto is in Capricorn, in your 5th house of your access to pleasure, your creativity, your sense of fun. And it's not been very fun lately. I completely understand that. Pluto transforms. Pluto unearths, digs very, very, very deep, and brings everything out to the surface to look at. So that's a confronting thing to do in opposition to the rage and the heat. But take this moment with clarity and with an open mind too. I want you to listen to those in your life. I want them to listen to you too. Now, apart from this tension, this brittle square, we also have something very soothing and very loving and very complementary to perhaps some of this rage, because while Mars is squaring the lunation and opposing Pluto, they're also in trine with Venus in Scorpio and Neptune in Pisces. So our attention is drawn back to your 7th house of your relationships and your 3rd house of the goddess. And the goddess of beauty and love is glimmering down there. So when I look at this Virgo rising, there's such an emphasis on our relationships and our commitment. There's also an emphasis on our pain and our right to be honest with that pain. In countenance to this aggression, I want you to let the love in. I want you to let the feelings back in. Don't worry about it, honey. I've been dead below the neck for a long time, but it's coming back to me now. And I really understand the crisis mode that our bodies can flip into. I understand that we turn off our feelings sometimes because we can't bear them, or now is just not the time. But maybe this full moon is the time. Because I've said commitment, I've said relationships, I've said love, I've said pain, time and again in this reading. That seems to be the direction that we're going. Visualize it. Visualize it as unlocking something that's been confined for a very long time. Let it out. Let's get some tarot. I want to quickly thank all of you who emailed me and requested the audio files from the Libra solar eclipse readings that I couldn't publish because my computer ate the video. If you're on my mailing list, you would have received an email from me letting you know, and I spent maybe 3 afternoons replying to all of you, and it just made me feel so relieved and so loved and so helpful, so validated. So I just wanted to quickly thank you for that. It meant the world to me. There's so many of us that have put up a very strong container around our intellect. At this time, it feels very critical to protect ourselves from misinformation. It seems highly essential to keep a clear head and to keep our ethics really intact. There's been so many people that I've spoken to that have found that act to be quite isolating, because to keep oneself clear of the high octave emotions or rhetoric or ideologies can distance yourself from intimacy with those that you would normally have intimacy with. And it can feel very isolating. Sometimes we find ourselves in a situation intimately where we do that internally, and we have to keep ourselves and our ethics and our clarity of mind protected from those in our immediate company as well, and that can be really isolating. But I think probably what I'm looking at here, Virgo Rising, is that you've just had to call it, speak it, the truth as you see it, name the bad behavior, or not even, perhaps just isolate, perhaps just turn off that line of communication or that connection for the time being, because the truth has been very difficult for you to hang on to. It is very confusing to be alive right now. It is very confusing in this age of over-communication and over-connection. It's very confusing to pass out what we believe from what others believe. That's the thing about sort of the polarized ideology, is it's a tactical thing. It's designed to split and to divide. That's how you get people vulnerable. If you split them up, if you splinter them off from one another, then they're easier to attack. But I'd like for you to honor that part of you. And I'd like for you to get back in step with how brilliant and how noble and how brave you are with your feelings. I'd like you to use that same honesty that you've been using as far as your ethics are concerned in your mind. I'd like for you to transpose that authority onto your feeling body, how equipped you are to emote. It's a very hard thing to do when we've been so focused on the brain and so focused on the information, so focused on being correct, and to shield ourselves from all of that stuff that I was describing, all of that kind of messiness. The tarot teaches us it's just so essential that when there's a moment, when there's room after the conflict or after the battle, then that's when we need to get back in touch with our feelings, because if we leave them locked for too long, there's always room to unearth. There's always room to let it out again, but it just becomes a little bit more difficult. I can only say that in my own experience. So the intellectual dissociation, it's just sort of like, right, I'm so up in my head, I'm so up in my brain, I'm so up in my anger or my anger's the wrong word, but we are speaking about Mars in Cancer too. So anyway, do you know what I mean? Like, unlock some of your feeling now. Now is the time. This moon is the time. Post-eclipse season is the time. In that 8th house of yours, with those bonds, those commitments, those oaths that you've recited, you know. Be honest with those people about how you've been feeling. If that's scared, if that's sad, if that's overwhelmed, you know, whatever it may be. But this moon's providing the space for you to do that. So I hope that you can. I hope that you can, in good time. Thank you for listening, Virgo Rising, and thank you so much again for your support over this year. It's been immeasurable. I can't tell you how much it means to me. If you would like me to read your chart, I will draw you one. They look like this. You can head to my website, umaruby.com. If it's your first time with me, pick the spirit reading. If you'd like a second or third or fourth reading with me, you know the drill. You can pick from the menu on the website. If you would like a face-to-face reading with me, you can make your appointment at the Muses of Mystery website and book in for a Sunday. I'll be there every Sunday till the end of the year. And if you would like to support my work financially, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. If you're still here with me, Virgo Rising, throw a key in the comments. Let me know how you've been working with this astrology. Let me know what you're looking forward to with this full moon as well. Take good care, good rest. I'll be with you very soon for the Scorpio new moon. Lots of love.